Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers
with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good dump.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family.
I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
And we are back for another episode of Box Office Bingers. Matthew, I'm actually kind of excited for this week's episode. Even though it doesn't seem like the world kind of is. I feel like it's getting movies getting a little bit more hate than what it's worth.
I don't know. I feel like I've been seeing some, at least not our opinions, but the outside world. I got a little mixed reviews on the movie we are talking about this week, which is Karate Kid Legends, starring Ben Wang, Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio, Ming Na Wen, Joshua Jackson, Sadie Stanley, and Aramis Knight. Directed by Jonathan Entwistle. Making his feature directorial debut. So this is his first movie he is directing, but he's directed episodes of Apple TV Plus's Hello Tomorrow. Which did you ever watch that show? I don't think I ever watched that show.
That's the one with the guy from the morning show.
Yeah, Billy
Crudup. Billy Crudup. Yeah, I wanted to see it because I was in it. It's like a 1960s retro futuristic kind of show.
Yeah,
I was interested in it, but I hadn't watched it.
yeah, same here, and it only lasted one season, so I guess not a lot of people watched it either. And he's also the creator behind Netflix's "I Am Not Okay with This," which I don't remember if I ever saw this. It looks familiar. It follows two kids. I don't know exactly what the story about. I think I'm confusing this with another show on Netflix called which only lasted one season. I think it was called "I Want the World to End" or something. But either way, yeah, Netflix is not okay with this. He's the creator behind that. Also, the movie is written by Rob Lieber, who's the screenwriter behind Peter Rabbit, Goosebumps 2: Haunted Halloween, and Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, the 2014 film starring Steve Carell and Jennifer Gardner.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Remember that movie?
I think it was also from Disney as well. But I'm going to be honest with you, Ernesto. When I realized that Rob Lieber was the screenwriter and I saw his credentials, this was after, like, I started doing this research after I watched the movie, and then knowing that this is a screenwriter for these types of movies, I was like, oh, Karate Kid Legends makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense of what, at least what vibe they were going for. And before we get really too into it, I mean, based on his credentials, this movie was made for a younger audience, for kids.
Absolutely, it's a kids movie.
So I don't think I was expecting that going into this, because I feel like the Karate Kid franchise is more, I wouldn't say adult. That's trying to harsh to say, but I feel like it was a little bit more, mature in certain aspects than this movie was.
I don't know. Well, I would say the Cobra Kai series has an adult aspect to it. Like, there's cursing but it's definitely like the same kind of vibe. I feel like that cheesy vibe, that like nostalgic cheesy vibe, they know their lane. They know their lane and what works for them. That's kind of what I got from it. But we're gonna we'll dive into that in the review later.
Before we do that, we're gonna be skipping entertainment news this week. It wasn't a lot happening this week. Well, I said that earlier, and then all of a sudden everything starts happening. So we'll talk more about. We'll have a bigger, well-rounded news segment on next week's episode. But for now, we are going to be skipping the entertainment news, and we're going to be diving into a fun segment we like to call "Whatcha Watchin." So Ernesto, we'll start with you. What have you been watching?
So I kind of, this is my week from vacation. So I've actually got a few things this week. The first thing is actually, I guess it's technically a rewatch because I've watched this movie when it came out. I'm talking about The Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman. Like I saw this movie when it first came out, um, and I've been meaning to come back to it because when I saw it, this is actually the reason why my son is named Eli because
Mm.
we watched this movie and we love the movie so much and we love the name so much. We're like, like if we ever happen to have a kid, like we already know that that's gonna be one of their names, and then it did. But this is a great movie. Like he's kind of like on this post-apocalyptic world, and he's on this mission to deliver this item that he's kind of like following his path. But have you ever seen it? You ever seen this movie?
It's been years since I've seen this movie. I'm seeing what the release date was January 15th, 2010.
Was it
Uh,
2010? I thought it came
it
out.
says right there
I
on the
thought
poster in
I know. I see
2010.
that. I do see that on the poster, but I thought. I guess I must have. Maybe I picked it up in like a DVD bin because I saw this when I saw this movie. It was years and years later. I didn't see. I don't. I
Yeah.
didn't see this in the theaters. Um,
Uh, yeah, Denzel Washington, Mila Kunis, Ray Stevenson, and Gary Oldman. I feel like when I watched this movie, I was still in high school, and I just didn't get it. I remember thinking it was an okay movie, but if you told me right now what the plot of this movie is, I couldn't tell you. If you told me, give me anything about Book of Eli, I probably would have said it stars Denzel Washington. And then it's like for bonus points, is Gary Oldman in this movie? I would have been like, no, I don't think so. And then I would have been like, sprayed with slime or something because I would have been wrong.
no, but it's like he's on a journey. He's has to deliver he has to bring the Bible out west. So like this is like all the books are being burned. It's like
Right.
post apocalyptic. There's not nobody like they're so far in the post apocalyptic like almost like Fallout where like nobody knows how to read. There's like not a lot of people are educated, but they use the Bible as like of like how it's been able to mold societies before, and that's why Gary Oldman is after it. He goes, "This book, will help create. People will come from the masses, and we'll be able to create like our own kingdom here because people will come and flock to listen to the word of this book." And he's talking about the Bible, but
Mhm.
it's just a really interesting, and then obviously it turns into like an action thing, like these raiders come out to get Denzel Washington, and he just like sneaks back into the in like an overpass and like he just completely takes out these guys. Like it was like 6-on-1, one guy with a chainsaw, and he's just got like a machete. He's like an action hero. And then there's a twist to the end. I don't want to. I mean, it's been a long time. This movie's over. I mean, obviously, this movie's like 15
15
years
years.
old. Um, but are you gonna rewatch it? Probably not. It's okay
No.
if you're not.
No.
So
You go ahead. You can I mean, you can spoil a movie that came out 15 years
yeah,
ago.
well, the whole thing is that he's blind. Like you find out at the end of the
That's
movie
right.
is that he's like
Yes.
he's like a blind superhero that's just being led by faith. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I just I just enjoy the narrative, and obviously, I mean, it's Denzel Washington, Gary Oldman, and kind of a standout for Mila Kunis. Just something different for her besides the rom com girlfriend. You know.
Mhm.
Um,
I got a quick question for you. Not a question, but more of a what do you think the time? Because I'm looking at the Rotten Tomato score now because I was curious of how they rated it. Where do you think it landed back in 2010? Based on your experience, rewatching this movie, where do you think the general consensus of this movie was?
I would say somewhere in the middle, if I had to guess. Like if I had Rotten, would you say Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah.
Um, like an 8, a 7.
Oh, they do out of 100.
Oh, like a 70, like a 50, somewhere in the 50 to 70 range.
Okay, it's actually lower than that.
Like 20.
No, not that low.
Okay,
Uh,
you made it
so
seem like it was
the
significant.
tomato meter, so with the critic score is a 46%,
Mm-hmm.
and the audience is a 64%.
Mm.
So that is, but would you go in line with the audience? Because obviously you're favoring it. So do you think? My main question of even asking this is like, do you think it aged well? And given what it is at the time, 15 years ago, would you rate it higher than a 46 critics and a 64 audience?
I'd probably go 75, like somewhere in the 75. It's a really good movie. It's got decent action. It's shot really well. I mean, you have standout performances by all these actors. I think the narrative is good. Like it's a solid film.
Okay. Yeah, even looking here again, I have all these stats here. Why not look at them? Budget 80 mil.
Mm-hmm.
Opening weekend 32, worldwide gross 157. So
It's not
I
bad.
wouldn't say a huge profit. Not bad. It's not definitely almost doubled its budget, but no dice there. But also that was 2010 times. So I'm not sure how they reckon, how they figure out financial success
Marketing and
there.
all that. Yeah.
But either way, it sounds like it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, no, I thought so. I thought it was really good. I mean, because it's a movie. It's a movie outside of like the world, like our main setting.
Mhm.
It's not like a movie about movies that are in the current time. It's like this alternate post-apocalyptic universe that's like outside of our
Yeah.
realm. When you come to it, it still has like it doesn't you don't think about it as being an older movie. You look at Gary Oldman and you look at Denzel Washington and you go, wow, you guys look really young. But that's about it. But like the cinematography is beautiful. It has like this I don't know like this green film, kind of like what you see in the poster here. Like everything is
Mhm.
shot with like this like mild green film on it. Like it kind of give like
Yeah.
that radiation kind of feeling. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It was worth the rewatch.
Okay. All right.
So I watched another movie based off your recommendation, and that was Companion, starring
Yes.
Jack Quaid.
Okay.
Another movie which I didn't think like I watched. I was looking what to watch, and I was like, man, it's like I'll give it a shot. Matt said it was pretty good, and I actually liked it. I thought the premise was really interesting, because like you're looking at the AI as like as she is the protagonist, and you usually for us it's the reverse. Like you think of them as the antagonist, and it was just
Yeah.
really I thought it was really interesting how they played that. And they made him like this like evil nerd.
Do you so did you know beforehand that she was a robot before you started this movie?
Yes, but it plays like you don't. I mean, it's right there,
Exactly.
but that's a problem because if you look at the
Yes.
poster, you go, "Oh, she's the robot." Like, but I guess the intention is that you've already seen the trailer for this, and I guess that's part of the problem. So then I shouldn't have to watch the movie with the assumption that I've watched the trailer. I should be able to pick it up like a book, like, oh, let me see what this is about, and I should have it unfolded to me that way. It shouldn't read like, oh, what, you didn't read the jacket on the back of the book that tells you what the book's about. Like, no, that's not how. Sometimes you don't need that, but the story shouldn't read as if you've read this preview of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, see that's the hard part about this is because like even in the poster, even if you were to just look at this, you would see that something is off. Nothing in the poster pretty much tells you that she is a robot. But
Matt, her eyes
again,
are
like
white.
right, her eyes are white. Yes, absolutely. But that's like the difficult line because this movie came out when it did, right? Obviously, of like the modern time, we are going in there expecting something, we would have watched the trailer for it. If you were to see this on streaming, most people might not have seen the trailer and just would have hit play. So if you go into the movie blind, then this plays really well because that's the first of many twists that this movie offers, which the twists are good.
Yeah,
But for me, especially watching the trailer and watching this in the theater, watching the trailer so I can watch in the theater, um, like the first to me 20 minutes plays like to your point, plays as if you didn't know that she was a robot. And it's like, well, I know this already. So can we move on, please?
yeah,
Like because like it to me, it's just like we're wasting time. But if you were going in there and not knowing, then then it plays really well. And I feel like it's just a really weird line to play because you're trying to sell the movie, but
Mm,
part of your movie is telling you what the audience already knows. But to its credit, it did. To one of its credit, the movie's only 90 minutes,
yeah.
and the first 20 minutes was dealing with like you not knowing, but y- once now the movie knows that she's a robot after it quote unquote revealed to the audience, then for me it's like okay, now the movie starts
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
no longer hiding a fact that there's something I already know.
Yeah, but then so then that brings on a really interesting question. So how would you market this movie with trying to conceal that she's a robot? How do you get people to watch this movie, letting them like kind of like because you have to let them know that it's a horror movie, that it's some kind of thriller or horror movie without
Right.
revealing what's happening. Like, do you show her just killing people and not that she's a robot? Do you just like that would be a really cool reveal. But
Hmm.
then how do you market this movie for what it's about?
Yeah, so I think you market it either two different ways. I like your angle where you could have just be like, she's murdering people, and then you realize that she's a robot, and actually she's murdering people with for a reason, and not
Mm,
for the reasons you think in the film.
mm.
Or like in the trailer could have marketed as this woman is just killing these people, but in actuality she's a robot and she's actually the good guy. So like you could market it that way,
That'd have been
or
really good. That'd have been really good marketing.
yeah,
That would have been a
or
good
if
marketing ploy. Yeah.
or if you go it the other way, where you play the movie and then right off the bat you know that she's a robot, and and it's a reveal to his friends rather than the audience.
Oh, like maybe the opening shot is like him unplugging her or her
Right.
booting or her already booting up without the like it being because they did that kind of stuff, but they hid. It was very obscure of what she was. Like if you'd already seen
Right.
the trailer and you already know, you're like, oh, I already know what he's talking about. But if you haven't, then it would just play like a regular relationship.
Yeah. And so in that case, then maybe the friends would have realized that she was a robot, and then I think the movie could have played out very the same after that.
Although
So
I would have really liked to have had that reveal. I think that would have been a really
mm,
like if I like regardless if you hadn't told me, if it wasn't in the
yeah,
poster and if it wasn't in the trailer and like that I think that would have given the movie's already pretty this is a decent movie. Like I really
yeah.
enjoyed it. Solid 90-minute thriller it actually has a like there's actually a good message behind the film like where it's not just kind of like surface level. I don't know, I found it very interesting. um yeah, I don't know, I think it would have played well to have that reveal completely without it being spoiled for you before you go see it.
Yeah, that's the tricky part because you want people to go see your movie, but then you're also kind of going in. You're the movie should not expect that you've already seen the trailer or vice versa.
Yeah.
Like it's like we're this is a movie that I want to tell, and so like yeah, if there's just a fine line there because then also the opposite effect where like you can market a movie like very similar to Captain America: Brave New World, where we felt like the whole marketing was the last act of the film.
Mm,
So, like and then that just annoyed me that I feel like that you just were scene by scene showing me everything that was happening in the finale, and the buildup wasn't even great to all that. You would think there would be something more, and there wasn't. Like, we're just saying, like, we have Red Hulk, and that's great. And then you see the movie is like, well, yeah, I guess you're just telling me that you have the Red Hulk, and he was in there for 5 minutes, and
yeah,
that
and
was your entire marketing campaign.
yeah,
So,
exactly that that's another point. I don't even just side note on that that we didn't even we might have brought it up that it that like he was Red Hulk for 5 minutes, and that
mhm.
was the entire marketing. That's
so
missed opportunity.
obviously with the marketing there are choices being made with every movie that comes out, and I think there are obviously movies that are marketed better than others.
Mm,
uh and actually, speaking of which, I will talk about some of the marketing choices for Karate Kid actually, because I feel like that's an interesting thing I wasn't expecting going into the movie, and I feel like I was given something slightly different, but I will get into that a little bit later. But
ooh, Tease.
how you market the movie is extremely important, and it can be to the sense actually, Lilo and Stitch is a great example of a movie that was marketed very well,
Yeah.
because all I knew going into the movie was Stitch. Stitch was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to market the story to you. People didn't realize Gantu wasn't in the film until a week before the movie came out when they were doing the premieres. Like, the marketing campaign was didn't care about the story, or not the story, they didn't care about the movie itself. They were doing other things that weren't even related to the movie. It was just Stitch doing Stitch things. So, like, you obviously have the pre-knowledge of the character, so that helps immensely, and
Mm-hmm.
it's extremely popular, but they didn't have to, like, sacrifice the movie's plot details in order to market the movie. And I feel like there can be a balance there between how, showing too little or too much, or misleading your audience.
That is a fantastic example because it just highlights that. Well, because that has a strong brand, eh? So
Hmm.
you don't need to showcase anything. Like like you could just put Stitch and you already oh he's gonna terrorize and you already know like every it's just I guess it's just common knowledge for everybody. But then for something like this, like ho- I think I liked where your direction with it on how to market this movie.
Hmm.
I think that they should have done either things. They should have hidden the reveal in the marketing, or just let us know right up front.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's yeah, it's all, again, all about choices. And but I will give credit to even like some of the future movies that are coming out this summer. Like, I couldn't tell you what the plot was for Superman. I just know that Superman is giving us hope, and Crypto the dog is seems to be a main player. But I couldn't tell you what that movie is about, and I give the credit to the marketing because it's not selling you on the plot; it's selling you on Superman. Which, again, it's a very popular IP, so you might not have to market the plot. Uh, because it's just Superman. The same goes for the Fantastic Four. I feel like we're leaning a little bit I feel like I already kinda know where the Fantastic Four is going, and that's blaming on the marketing of it, and I don't like going into it thinking it's going to go in a way that it's most likely going to go. So I'm hoping it surprises me by it not being the fact that Galactus is gonna destroy their universe. Um, but again, we will find out. But then with Superman, I don't know anything about it. And then even with Jurassic World, I'm not even paying attention to that movie. So,
No, no. It's just like, well,
so
that one. I think that's the one I'm the least excited for, but I have a
yeah,
feeling it's gonna do well.
of course it's gonna do well. But yeah, at least going back to Companion, all that to say, like, I did question, like, how the movie was presented. But at the end of the day, it was still a really good movie. Like, once the first 20 minutes was over, I feel like I can enjoy it because I went from anticipating when the twist was going to be, and then when they got it out of the way within the first 20 minutes, I was like, okay, where does this movie go? And I think it landed on the fact that it gave you more twists, some fun action beats, and yeah, I think it worked really well. Great, it's a great movie. Great, it was a great movie for like early January.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so wrapping that up, I watched this series Sirens on Netflix,
Oh,
to me was like I saw and I was like, this doesn't seem like a me type of show, but I like Julianne Moore, and I like Millie Alcock, and she's gonna be Supergirl. So I was like, well, let me give it a shot. It was fine. It was good.
mm,
I think it's interesting how they play on the idea of a siren, of like being called to somebody, and how
mhm.
like all the main characters kind of play that out in a very interesting way. It's interesting, but it's definitely like a show for females. It's
Yeah,
definitely like a chick show, but I thought it was half decent. It was all right. It was pretty good.
it was quick too. Because I also had interest in watching this show, and I only saw it was like 4 or 5 episodes. Like, it
Yeah,
was
5 episodes. It's only
pretty
five
quick.
episodes long.
How long? Sorry.
5 episodes.
Yeah, I thought that was like I feel like that's just a weird. Like, the normal is anywhere between 6, 8, 10, like, that's maybe even 9, like, you get some of those, but, like, 5 seems like it's a little too short, I don't know why, but, like, some of these Marvel shows are, like, 6 episodes, and that's fine, but, like, I feel like 5 is an interesting number, but, again, we live in an age where we don't have to define how many episodes determine its success as long as it's, uh, you we live in a streaming era where the you do as much as the story needs.
Yeah, that's true. But I do feel like it could have. It does feel like it was kind of rushed. Like it could have done.
Mm,
It could have done with one more episode. Like we got resolution on, but it would have been nice to have at least, or maybe like a little bit longer. Of if episode 5 was like maybe 15, 20 minutes longer, just to kind of. It just felt a little rushed how they got to the end. The ending,
interesting.
yeah,
Are they hour long?
yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
Something like
alright.
that, yeah. But yeah, and
Alright, it's
that's all I got.
all you got? Okay. Yeah, I also had some I think we skipped what you're watching on our last episode, so, definitely have a few things to mention. First thing is, another simple favor, is the Prime Video. For whatever reason, they decided to make a sequel to A Simple Favor, starring Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick. They all came back to reprise their roles. Also, Paul Feig,
Mm,
who did the original Simple Favor. Uh, he directed the original one, came back for the sequel, and let me tell you, if you have not watched A Simple Favor, that movie is fantastic.
okay.
I remember watching that and being like, "Damn, this is a really good mystery, a really good story." It has like these twists and turns. You never know where it's going. The vibe was great. Everything about that movie was fantastic. I was surprised they were making a sequel, but I was also really excited because the whole team is back, another mystery angle to it. I think it could have really landed. And I'm gonna give everyone another simple favor and to not watch this movie. Uh, it was horrendous. Like I was watching like I think the first 15 minutes in, and I was like, this this isn't a movie. Like it just felt extremely low budget. And it's so odd to have that feeling when you got basically the original cast and director and Amazon money to make
Mm,
it feel like we were filming this. Um, like the beginning of the movie just feels very obvious that we're like in a sound stage, I guess. I don't know. I feel like that the way that the production design was very poor and they put all the money into like, oh, we're going to Italy or Cecily, I believe. So we're putting all the money in the filming location, but all the stuff before that, we're like, we're not investing anything into it. And it feels very obvious that we are in like either sound stages or like I'm sure a lot of other movies have the same thing, but this feels like it pulled me out of the movie. And it was like the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the movie like that. And then the story was just really bad. It feels like this entire movie felt like a paycheck for everybody. Like, nobody wanted a sequel, nobody wanted to be there. The choices in this movie was odd. And at this point, there was a point where I was just hate watching this. It's like, this is so bad, but I wanna see how it ends.
what's really interesting is that I think the production and the press tour when right before South by Southwest was in the middle of all this Justin Baldini, Blake Lively thing. So I'm curious. Do you think that translated to like the film? Like does it like how is the like how they play off each other? Like you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Ye Yeah, I mean, I feel like all that was all that was afterward. So, like, their feud not really feud, but, like, all the drama that was surrounding Blake Lively was after the movie came out, and this after It Ends With Us movie came out, and that was in August of last year,
Hmm.
and so this movie would have probably been done
Oh,
filming
you're right.
by then, I would like to think.
Yeah.
Um, so it just feels like that nobody cared about making this movie, and I that translated very it was very obvious, and I'm pretty sure I was looking at the Rotten Tomato scores, like, "Do people like this? Like, this can't be." highly rated, right? There's no way. As I'm looking, I'm just want to verify what I saw. It I was shocked that it had a 60%.
Mm.
I was like, "What?" 60 critics, 36 audience. So the audience and I were on the same page here. But what's crazy about the 60% is that I was reading their critic score and it says sailing through on the strength of its predecessor. Another super favor is a perfect cocktail of mystery, intrigue, and sharp casting with a dash of well-timed comedy. Wrong. I don't know what movie they saw, but
Wrong.
I don't know what movie they saw, but that was a poor description of like, I'm gonna just go back and see what the audience said. First thing, feels like a major favor having to watch this. Perfect. First one. Um, yeah, it's I I don't know why. I don't know why. I would recommend don't watch it. Just don't waste your time.
All right.
I feel like I wasted my time watching this movie.
I'm
100%.
sorry. I'm sorry you did.
It's okay.
We'll move on then. How
It's
about that?
move on.
Does that make you
Yeah.
feel better? You don't ever have to talk
Makes
about
it
it again.
talking about this makes me feel better.
Okay.
Um, so I remember hearing about this movie, and it's called Secret Mall Apartment, and it's in a documentary, less of a movie. It's a movie documentary,
Mhm.
and it's about these group of people who are pretty much like one main artist was spearheading this idea, and then a collective group of people kind of were on this. But they said at the time, like, wouldn't it be cool to live in a mall? and and there was more of a test of protest in a way, because this big mall was taking over like this large portion of I forgot which state it was in, but this was like this story was like taking place in the 90s, and so this huge mall was coming in when malls were just booming, and as far as like a protest, they were very much against this mall being made, but they said, "Wouldn't it be cool to live in it? There's got to be space for it." And they found the blueprints, and they found this little small area that was being unoccupied, like within the walls. It was almost like this empty space. So they went and in the middle of the night, and they found this space, and then eventually they started getting furniture, they found electricity, and then they started living in the mall for, I believe, a better part of 4 years. They were in this, and it was such a fascinating documentary that I remember hearing about, and it wasn't available anywhere, so I just kinda kept it on my radar, and then good old Enzian over in Orlando said, "We're doing a special screening of Secret Mall Apartment." It said due to popular demand, and I was like, did you play this before? Because I think I would have noticed it if they did. So I was like, oh, you know what? It's not at home. It's not available at home. I'm sure it will be soon, but I've always had like a good excuse to go watch a movie at the Enzian, and this was one of them, and it did not disappoint. It was produced by Jesse Eisenberg, and it was a really interesting story that I wasn't expecting going in. I was expecting like, here's how they did it. It was that, but it was also part of like a silent protest. I wouldn't say silent, but as part of like a protest, part of your art, it was a lot more than just these people living in a secret apartment. So there was a lot more diving into it. It's a quick 90 minutes. Whenever this comes home or whenever it's available to watch at home or streaming, I definitely recommend giving this documentary a look because it was pretty fascinating. But I will spoil it. They did get caught, and
Yeah, I
after
figured.
like 4 years.
After 4 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, yeah, I was surprised they lasted that long. But it's a very fascinating story of how, like, they got there and kinda what that meant for these people. It was a very really interesting story.
Mm.
So, yeah, Secret Mall Apartment. Thanks for the Enzian for always keeping it fresh over at the Enzian for giving us some interesting movies. Moving on from that, I got a couple of TV shows I had binged, one of them being Hacks season 4. Ernesto, I'm surprised you haven't started this one yet.
I know. That's probably gonna be next. How was it?
It was good. I feel like season 3 was a little bit stronger,
Oh.
but as this show tends to be, I think it's always going on the right path
Mm.
of, like, keeping things fresh, keeping things interesting, seeing how Gene Smart grows as damn, I forgot her character's name. Um, grows as come on, internet. Deborah Vance.
Hmm.
Seeing how her character has grown, seeing how Ava, played by Hannah Inbinder, seeing how her character has grown throughout these seasons, and being in a late night setting was really, really fun to watch. Like, I like because the whole vibe is like them running late them running late night
Mm.
and or their own late night show and being involved in the Hollywood of it all, because this show primarily takes place in California now. The previous iterations were like either on tour in Vegas. So now this whole season's in Los Angeles, and seeing how they navigate with her being the first female host of late night. And yeah, I mean, this show still had me cracking up every episode. So like it wasn't a bad season. I think season three was a little bit better. Season three finale was extremely like I was shocked. Like, I mean, I remember the finale. It was really good finale, like a great cliffhanger moment. So this season didn't quite do that. They gave us a good cliffhanger moment in the penultimate episode that could have felt like the finale, but I was reading an article of why the creators decided to not leave it on the finale or leave it on the penultimate episode. Um, and they wanted to something like kind of pick up after that. So like if you're watching week to week, that was a cliffhanger for the week. But I feel like that would have been the cliffhanger very similar to the end of season 3,
Mm.
kinda cliffhanger. So now I feel like the finale felt like would have been the start of episode 1 of season 5.
Oh,
But
damn.
so it was interesting how they decided to kinda round out the season. But we're at an interesting point, but yeah, I just felt like if they would have stopped an episode sooner, I would have been like, "Damn, that's a great way to end the season." But yet we got one more episode that continued that didn't land as hard as like the penultimate episode.
Mm. So, do they have how many? Do you think they have one more season? How many more seasons? Did they get renewed for a fifth season?
They did get renewed for a 5th season. They've always said that their goal with this story was to last for 5 seasons.
Mm.
Um, but when I was reading a Variety article of their interview and the interviewer asked that question, they said, "You always want to get to 5. Now you're here. All right, is this the last season?" And they said that they don't know if it's the last season. They're still ironing out all the details of how the story goes. But if they feel like that this is not they still have story beats they want to hit. And
Mm.
if they don't feel like they can get it within the not the final, but in season 5, then they would continue on for another season. And it definitely feels like Max, or I should say HBO, or it doesn't seem like they're getting rid of the show anytime soon. And what's actually really funny was that this is actually Max and HBO and Warner Brothers really have nothing to do with this. This is a Universal show that is streaming on Max,
Hilarious.
which I feel like happens all the time. We see like if you watch any show and it's like a Netflix presents a Sony Pictures
Yeah.
whatever, and we see it all over the streaming services. So this is anything new, but I just feel like it's interesting that if Peacock was a thing, Hacks would have been on Peacock rather than Universal having an idea for a TV show and then kind of working with Warner Brothers to stream the show.
Yeah,
But
this would have been
it
Peacock's like land. This would have been one of their flagship shows.
exactly. But then who knows? Because Peacock wasn't a major streaming service then. Maybe they needed the strength of HBO and Max that's already there to kind of spearhead this show, getting more eyes on it. Because you
That's true.
imagine if this aired on Peacock and then it only lasted one season because no one's watching.
Mm. That's a
So
fair point. That's very similar to like
Cobra
you
Kai.
or and Cobra Kai. Yes, and Cobra Kai, where they were on like Cobra Kai was on YouTube, it came over to Netflix, and then exploded in
Yeah.
popularity. And then the same thing with you. Started on Lifetime, came over to
Yeah.
Netflix, and exploded with popularity. So
Yeah.
you have a point.
Sometimes it's not the content, it's where it's being shown,
Yeah,
and you just don't
100%.
have enough eyes on it before, you could have, like, prime stuff and just if no one's watching it because the eyes aren't there, But yeah, I think Hacks is still a great comedy. It's still firing on all cylinders. I like where this season went. Um, I feel like I could have stayed there for a while, but they decided to do other ventures within the process, and I'm excited to see where season 5 goes. I will say, I hope it's the end.
Mm,
I'm not sure how long we can stretch this out because I feel like we've been on this trajectory for a while of like I feel like late night has always been in the background of this show, and I feel like it's been a natural progression to like here's this, retiring comedian who wants to do better for himself, and then it goes from like getting to fame, going on tour, trying to get late night, and then actually getting late night. I don't know where, and the finale didn't really tell me where we kinda go next after that. So, I feel like that for me, a natural progression would kind of get like, "Let's wrap this up,
yeah.
with 5 seasons."
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. That's because it doesn't. Because even after the last one, I was like, well, she's getting to late night, so next maybe this is gonna be like we're getting close to the end. But
Yeah, I feel like we should be getting close. I'll be surprised if this goes to season 6, to be honest, but it did get renewed for season 5, so I will be there. Megan and I, we both love watching the show, and it's funny because we actually got into it before even Megan did. Like, this was a recommendation based off of the Emmy nominations, and we were
yeah,
like, "Oh, this show," and then we actually really liked it.
yeah, true, very true, very true. So I am excited to dive into this next season. That's probably gonna be probably the next couple weeks.
Okay. All right, the next show that I binged was The Pit. Oh my god, okay. So, The Pit was a show that I was not expecting to really just watch, and she just is really just really hanging on. Okay. um, my cat likes to make appearances, and she's done 2 already. She's very needy this afternoon. Um, anyway, The Pit. A Pit that's on Max. Max has been taking a lot of my attention. I didn't realize the last 3 shows I'm watching are on Max, so
Told you,
they
Max
got
is a
my money
banger.
this week.
Max is a banger of a stream service. It's kind of neck and neck with Netflix with me.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, they definitely got my money for the month of May, I should say. And so I'll preface it this way. If you don't know what The Pit is about, is basically right there on the poster. It's 15 1-hour long episodes taking place in real time of an ER shift. So we're following this kind of a rotation of doctors, nurses, and like our head. I don't even know what you call them. Like I guess head ER person,
Mm.
kind of head doctor, chief, if you would, to kind of seeing how all this is being managed. And the fact that this was 15 episodes, I was like, damn, this is a long season. Like they, first of all, they got away with this. Typically, most streaming services will give you a 10
Yeah,
max.
exactly.
Um, but I guess, you put Max in the streaming service, you're gonna get more episodes. And they probably must have sold them on, something a really good idea. And I remember hearing a lot of positive things about this show, and, honestly, it wasn't until, uh, Megan started watching it, and she was like, "Oh, this is actually a really good show, you should watch it." And I was like, "Ah, it's like a medical procedural, I'm really not into that type of show." It's like shows about, like, hospitals and, like I'm not Grey's Anatomy, like, stuff like that. It's like, I'm not into that. Like, I feel like it'd just be, like, another drama stuff, whatever. And I was shocked on, like, this show sucks you in so quickly into the ER atmosphere, and it does not let his foot off the gas for, I would say, 13 and a half straight episodes.
Mm.
And it just off speaking the doctors would have to do in an ER setting. And it's quite incredible of how they're able to pull this off, of you literally taking place like you're seeing like in real time. Like literally the episode ends and then it starts back almost to the frame of where it picks up on. Or like if it were just a cut, then that would be the next thing you see. And like each episode is the time. So episode 1 is 7 a.m., episode 2 is 8 a.m., episode 9 is 9 a.m., and then it goes all the way to uh, 9 p.m. So you're seeing these people go through a whole shift, and you're seeing this rotation, and the mixture between a rotating problem that comes into the ER, a fix they have to do, on the feet thinking that they have to do, and there is a like you see this injured person come in, you kind of see their story, but you're also following 5 other people that were coming in at the same time, dealing with all their other struggles, and then maybe like 2 episodes later or within the episode or the next episode, that person would go, but you already had like 4 other people that came in 3 episodes ago that are still dealing with whatever they have going on. So, like, it's quite impressive of the fluid movement that's within this show and having you care almost about every single patient that walks through that ER door, in addition to finding time to give us a little bit of drama that's happening within the ER. This show was very well crafted,
Mm,
and for me not being into medical procedurals and stuff like that, to me, I had questions like, "Is this really how an ER, like, sense like, how much of this is this dramatized?"
mm.
Because this feels like this would be a rotation. This feels normal to me. And it was quite shocking, and then also very slowly within these 15 episodes, you see something kind of building, and you're like, "Okay, you kinda know something big's gonna happen, and then something big does happen." And then it just cranks it up to 11. And you're like, "Wow, okay, so this is how this situation would go." And again, very surprised of, like, into how, like, fine-tuned the story had to be, the camera work that had to go into these, on top of everyone that has to be on it. The dialogue is so heavy here. So many medical terms. I didn't know half the time what the fuck they were talking about, because they're just spitting out medical jargon a whole bunch of place, but you're still invested into these people that are coming in and out of this ER, in addition to these other stories that are kind of floating around throughout the season. So, I was shocked at how much I enjoy this, and I'm happy that Megan at least told me that I think I would like it, and I gave this show a chance because I'm not really into this type of show.
So what's really funny about what you just said is that my wife watched this show she watched it week to week. She caught on at
Mm.
like week 1 or 2, and then she watched week all the way into the end. And I still haven't seen it because she pitched it to me the same exact way, and my response was the exact same response that you gave to
Mhm.
Megan. It's like I don't watch those stuff. I'm not the like out of everything I watch, I'm just not a bit. I'm not really big on medical procedurals.
And but I feel like it does better than your average because I feel like what hooked me was that this show is not about the doctors and the drama that's happening in there. It's more about just how, excuse me, this person comes in here, has an emergency. How do we fix it? Let's fix it. All right, now let's move on to somebody else. Let's move on to somebody else. It's like I feel like what kind of turns me off to some of these medical procedures that it's either it feels like it's hyper dramatized and it's non-realistic and it just feels cheesy. This show made it feel real and it sucked me in from the beginning. And I was again, I think it will surprise you. And I'm sure if you told Hannah, "Hey, I want to watch this," I'm sure she will be gladly want to watch this again.
Oh, I'm sure she already. I saw her rewatch the series with her sister. She was coming with us.
Really?
Yeah, my sister in law is a nurse, or she was going through nursing school at the time, and they were and then she's like, I think you would like the show, and she really liked it as a nurse,
Mhm.
as somebody who's like been in this environment. She seemed to really enjoy it, and was like not. She didn't say, "Well, that's bullshit." Like that's bullshit. Like
Yeah.
she wasn't like calling him out for like things that were wrong. She actually praised for how good it was.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what's getting a lot of people attention too of like the accuracy on this. Also, I never too familiar with Noah Weil as an actor. Apparently, he was in multiple episodes of ER back in the day,
Mm.
and and then he really picks his projects like I wouldn't say carefully, but like he's been in a lot of television throughout the years. A show that I actually watched and I had no idea, and I don't really remember it, but Falling Skies that was on TNT in the early 2000s. I remember watching that show, and apparently he was the lead. but apparently his claim to fame was ER, but also the show called Librarian that
Mm,
apparently has different iterations throughout the years that he's been a part of this whole time. But it was kind of interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people like, "Oh, I know him from ER," and now he's like the lead and taking charge in this atmosphere. So I'm sure a lot of people who are familiar with him then are like, "Oh, this makes complete sense why he will be kind of leading an ER like show," but
mm.
it's completely different in that sense. So I actually I learned a lot. Like this show really surprised me. It's like I learned about a little bit more about some of the actors and specifically this one, but just like this world I was kind of into just for a brief moment and for these long episodes. I will say I'm happy that I binged it. I don't think I would be invested if I watched it week to week.
Mm.
Um, I feel like that because these episodes just flow right into one into the next, that it made it easy for me, like, "All right, let's watch the next one." The story wasn't over, and it was, like, one of those situations where, like, if you wanted, like, a drop-off point, you would have to wait at least 15 minutes into the next episode before it feels like things were slowing down just for a brief moment before something else comes in. You're like, "Oh, damn it, now I can't not continue watching the show." I Coming from me, Ernesto, which I'm in the same vibe as you, I recommend you watching this show.
All right. So that's it. It's got the point stamp of approval. So I'll
It's
check it out. I'll check it out, and then I'll have to tell her that you got me, and then I'll tell her that you got me to watch it.
yeah. So if you do end up watching it, I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts on it because it was to me this was like the big surprise of the year of a show that I had no interest of watching and I wasn't going to, but just out of pure curiosity, and here we are. I'm raving about it. So
Mm.
it got renewed for a season two. So I'm looking forward to what they got in store.
So when
My only hope is that my only worry about season 2 is that it will never live up to the first season,
or it might be better. What if they're just
or it
getting
might be
started?
better.
So
Yeah,
question for you:
probably.
when this season 2 drops, will you wait till the whole thing drops and then binge it, or will you watch week to week? Now that you're already kind of like invested into these people.
Yeah, I feel like that, if it's a similar vibe, then, yeah, I'll probably wait to binge it, but if this is something this might be a completely different, like, not setting, but a different,
Event.
v event or a different tone or a different way they wanna tell the story.
Mm.
So, I think it depends. I'll definitely be watching a trailer when this season 2 comes out to see, like, how we are approaching this, but for how this season was, I feel like this would be really hard to top in my opinion.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm very curious about
Um
your last thing here.
Yes, and the last show that I watched that was also on Max is The Last of Us season 2. I ended up watching this show for the most part week to week. I think I was like 3 episodes behind when I started, and so I binged the first 3 episodes. It's only 7 episodes, so it was fairly quick in my opinion. And then yeah, and so then I was watching it week to week since then. I think this was a good for me, this was a good week to week.
Mm-hmm.
I as far as like digesting the content because it's I wouldn't say hugely heavy, but, like, I feel like the story is dense, and I feel like if I was watching this on a binge model, I feel like it woulda, like I guess it doesn't really put you in the right mood to, like, sit there and watch this for, like, 7 hours straight.
Mm.
It it was a good, like, one week at a time, simmer on some of the stuff they were talking about, like, I was happy with my week to week watch on this.
Well, I guess the better
Um
question is, did you enjoy it? Was it a good season?
Um, sure.
I
I will say
I believe you.
I wasn't hugely, like, wowed by the first season of The Last of Us.
Mm.
Uh, I did enjoy the first season, but there was nothing in that show that I was like, "Damn, this was, grade A television." With the exception, I believe, episode 3, the one that starred Nick Offerman. That was a really good episode.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the few moments in that first season that really makes it stand out to me. But I feel like also part of it is, like, I have no connection to the games. I've never played it,
Mm.
and, I've attempted to play the game once, and I just knew that the type of game it was and the gameplay, it just doesn't it won't keep my attention. I'm a very forward, and that game required you to stop in every nook and cranny to pick up every single supply, and then you have to wait for the perfect moment to strike the clickers, and if you don't, you die. And I'm just more like, if I don't get in the first 2 tries, I'm on easy mode, baby. We're trying to have fun here. This felt like this game was stressing me out, and I was like, no, I can't play this game.
I
So
love the games.
surprisingly, the first season and the story of the game never got spoiled for me, so I was able to watch the show fresh for the most part.
Mm. I gotta
Uh,
tell you, I love the games. The games are 1 and 2 are fantastic. I think they're both fantastic.
so how do you feel about the first season before I talk about the second season? Like, did you really enjoy the first season?
Yeah, I like the first season, and I like the stuff that they added. The like you were just saying, the Nick Offerman episode. It's probably one of the best.
Mhm.
That's one of the best episodes of that season. It was
Yeah,
just like
yeah, for sure.
it was just like a well crafted, self-contained narrative that mildly connected to the story, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked for the season. It just made sense to have that there. But yeah, I love. Actually, I really enjoyed the first season, and I haven't finished the second season, but I've watched the premiere of the second season.
Okay, then how were your thoughts on the game, like, part 2?
Oh, I love the game. The Last of Us Part Two. I think the game is fantastic. I think the story for two is fantastic. I love the dynamic that they give you, where you get to be what's her character's
Ellie and Abby?
Yes, you get to be you see Ellie and Abby, but you view them as pro. You get to because you get to play as both of them. So you're kind of
Mhm.
you get to see Abby's point of view and you see Ellie's point of view, and how they kind of intersect, and where that will eventually end. Because I think I saw that the next season it'll be from Abby's
Abby's
point of
point of
view.
view.
I do think that Abby's not jacked enough, because in the game she looks like a freaking bodybuilder. Like, they make it a point to make her look like a bodybuilder. That's about it. That's like my own. That's like my mild complaint, is that she doesn't really like look like Abby, because Abby is like a beast in the game.
Yeah, a lot of people complaining about, casting, I believe Caitlin Danvers, I believe her name is,
Yeah.
as the character of Abby. A lot of people didn't like that casting. A lot of people still don't like Billy Ramsey as Ellie, and again, for me, I have nothing to compare it to. I will say that this second season is not as strong as the first season. Because I don't have anything to compare it to, I just felt like the season was fine. They had some big moments. Obviously, there was a huge moment in the game that they played out in the show,
Yeah.
specifically with Joel. And I don't want to give anything away, but that moment played out in the season, and then it kind of kicked off from there. And after week after me watching the show and seeing how they took some liberties with certain things, I went back and saw, like, okay, I haven't played the game, but how did the game compare to where we are so far in The Last of Us? So I was kind of watching the show and then seeing the differences between the game and the show from there. So I
Mm.
only know as far as where the show left off of where the game kind of, like, I don't know the full story of the show or the game of part 2, but I know as much as the show gave me and where the comparisons were between the show and the game.
Yeah.
That being said, I do feel like that it when there is an absence of Joel, you feel it in the show.
Okay. So
You 100% feel it.
she needs to play off. You felt like she needs to play off of Joel.
Yeah, I feel like that once Joel was no longer there, the story, uh definitely, like, you can see that there's a huge hole in it, and then there was, like, a flashback episode that Joel was featured in, and you're like, "Okay, here it is again." Like, to me, that was my favorite episode, the flashback episode. It also brought some other context that was presented earlier in the season of, like, how things kind of play out, and I like it yeah, I hate to say it, but, like, Pedro Pascal brings a different level to the character of Joel, and the fact that he is no longer there, it's definitely a big gaping hole that's missing. And then on top of that, I feel like there was just a lot of wasted time within this show. Often feel that way with Game of Thrones sometimes, where I feel like these episodes aren't really going anywhere.
Mm.
And I felt that way with season 2, and then they kinda leave you at the end of the season on a cliffhanger of, like, this particular moment, and then they kind of end the season with, like, "Okay, now you're gonna get Abby's perspective on basically everything that kind of plays out." And because I did not see Abby much in this show, I feel like I don't care about this character or her point of view because the show didn't, you know, allow me to want to care about this person's point of view. The only thing that I know is that of what she did and how Ellie felt about what she did. But after that, like, I know nothing else about this character. So for you to tell me that we're gonna follow her in the 3rd season and she's for the most part gonna be our lead, I honestly could care less at the moment because the 2nd season didn't really give me any reason to want to see her point of view other than, like, Ellie is looking for her and wants her revenge.
Well, it's really because they should have been. I mean, they're stretching it out. Is the problem
Yes.
because it's not like you. It's really gonna be like season 2, part 2 instead of season
Yeah.
3. Is really what they should call it because yeah, they didn't give you that time, but because that's like the whole second half of the narrative. Is
Right.
Abby's point of view and how it interweaves at the and how it weaves in together at the end, and then there's a little bit of back and forth between them. Um, yeah, I am.
I feel like that
Go ahead.
I feel like that if they were wanting to care, I feel like we should have seen Abby a little bit more in season 2
Mhm.
to want me to see her point of view, or they should have, kinda go separate from the game and have these scenes kind of playing out simultaneously, like, within the cut. So by the time we get to season 3, we're kind of seeing their narrative play out. Like, I would have been fine if it was, like, one episode was Ellie, one episode was Abby, one episode was Ellie, one episode was Abby. So at least I care moving forward, but they decided to make this season focus on Ellie's point of view, and then season 3 gonna be focusing on Abby's point of view. Now, that being said, I could watch season 3, and it gives better context for season 2, and
Yeah,
then, to me, at the end of the day, it was more of I didn't like how this story was structured, but overall, they did a fantastic job with the season. So,
that's fair.
so
Uh, my
I
my only like I've seen a couple of clips online where they'll take like I guess a clip from this season and then they'll do like a side. There's like a side by side comparison of like
Mhm.
how Ellie was in the game, and I haven't watched it in its entirety, but in the clips that I've played in the game and when they compare it to the TV show, I see the difference in Ellie's character. Like there's a difference in like I almost want to say her intelligence levels. Like she doesn't seem as smart and as vengeful as she does in the games. That's her. After the thing happens, she becomes like a rage monster. Like she becomes like
yeah.
incredibly angry. Like and like she's like a woman on a mission. Like she's got one directive, and that's it.
Yeah, and I will say that you don't get that in the show. I never felt that whatsoever.
And
Like,
that's a
I've been seeing
problem.
the same complaints from people who played the game of, like, this character doesn't feel the same, and without playing the game and just kind of, reading what people's thoughts were and kinda comparing some of the scenes that happened at that moment in the game and where we are now, I never felt like I agree with you. And for you for having even watched the season, it definitely feels like that Ellie is not as smart as she probably should be at this moment, or as revengeful as she is in this moment. There are other factors at play, and I never unfortunately, there are just moments in this show where I just don't take the character seriously, and I think she's making dumb decisions, and I'd rather be focused on somebody else. Like, Dina's character, played by Isabel,
Merced.
uh, Merced,
Hmm.
she is fantastic.
Yeah,
Like, I love her character. I think she's a great actress. I'm looking forward to see her in Hawk Girl and Superman. She's been killing it these last couple of movies and TV shows. And I think she, for me, carried this show, and I cared more about her character than I do about Ellie. And
that's a problem.
I don't think it's discrediting on Bella Ramsey's performance. more of where the creators are deciding for this narrative to go. So they're definitely making some interesting choices here. I think as far as character wise, they're making I think poor choices. But as far as some of the changes that I've seen compared, there were some cases where they were comparing what happened in the video game and like, I think the show did it better.
Mm.
Like, I think that was a better call to make that change because it works better for the show rather than the game. So, like, I can see that, but how I feel about these characters are I don't. I just don't care
Yeah,
for
and
them.
maybe that, and that's where I think that's where the problem is, because that's where The Last of Us 2 in the game is very strong, because like you obviously feel for Ellie, like you understand her perspective, but when she turns into that person, it's understandable because like
Mhm.
this incredibly tragic thing has happened to her, and this is her trying to process that and get in and trying to move on from that in the best way she knows possible.
Yeah, it's really weird because also now we're expected to like, all right, now here is now you have to wait however long to get this 3rd season and this perspective, even for audiences to kind of stick around and want to see this perspective. Like I said, this show didn't really give me any reason to care about Abby's, point of view into all this, so the fact that you're telling me that I might potentially have to wait 2 to 3 years to see that, I'm not gonna care in 2 to 3 years how this next season kinda plays out.
Mm.
And if I really care, I would just watch someone play the game on YouTube to find out the other half of the story, or you would have played the game yourself. I do feel like that this should have been contained within a season, especially since this season only had 7 episodes.
Yeah.
Like you could have told you can't tell me you couldn't squeeze in 3 more, 4 more hours, even make this a 12 episode season
Or
to kind of flush out this entire story.
or here, let's just take the same streaming service, another example. Look at the Pit, 15 episodes. Last
Yeah,
of Us only 7. Like, so if the next season's only 7, you telling me you couldn't give us that narrative in 14 episodes and it have, because
right.
then it would have been more cohesive. So like this is an example of like you guys trying to bleed it for everything that it's worth. Stretch it out. Like this is not a narrative that should be stretched out the way it's being stretched out. Stretched out.
No.
Like it would have been easy to do this as a 14 episode season, and then you get both. You get the whole story all at once. And then if the show and the show ends, then it ends, and it's only 2 seasons. Like,
Right,
you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking just I want to verify season 1 came out in 2023 in January of 2023 and then season 2 is now April of 2025. And so honestly, another reason I feel like this would make a little bit more sense if they would have told me that like in early 2026 we're going to get the second like we're going to get season 3.
Mm,
Like if you told me in early 2026 or within the year, within 1 year we'll get season 3, then I'll be like, "Okay, fine. Take your time, bleed it out for an extra year, whatever." But if this season doesn't come out until 2027, worst 2028, I'm not gonna care as much anymore. And I feel like that, uh, with the absence of now Pedro Pascal, a lot of these other actors are probably, more availability than I think Pedro Pascal has because he's a very busy man.
yeah, he's in everything.
He's in everything. So very curious to see what happens in season 3 and if they decide to continue this after that. Like, so far, I think you would have told the game within 3 seasons. Unless they're working on more, we know that Neil Druckmann is a part of this show, and so he's the creator of The Last of Us. He could be having more ideas. I wanna stretch out this show for even longer, but as of right now, I don't know if it has the staying power to last beyond the video games. I know there were rumors of Last of Us Part 3 is coming out,
Mm,
but we don't know when that's gonna come out. And so if he's already working on a part 3, maybe he can already extend that into the show, but who knows if it's even worth like, how much are we bleeding this out, and how much can these characters, sustain this type of storytelling? And which sucks because there's a lot of great stuff within this. There's, like, great set pieces, great action moments that are in here. There's like this scene that was not in the game at all, and there's like this. It's a huge scene, and it feels like something I'll be watching out of Game of Thrones. Like it is massive, and it's a
mm.
great set piece, and it took place the entire episode. amongst other things that are going on. So, like, they're definitely pouring the money into it. They're just making some interesting choices that unfortunately is pulling you out of the show a
Mm.
lot. And it's like, why is she doing that? Why are they making these calls? And then like there's like these better moments where like, okay, this was a great episode. This is, you know, now I know why I'm watching the show. And then there's other moments where I'm like, why am I being pulled out? Like what's happening here?
So it seems like they don't have enough narrative to stretch it over, but they want to stretch it out. Well, and maybe the good reason is if they have these massive set pieces that have to do with these monsters, it's probably costing them a lot of money to
Yeah,
produce just to produce this thing. So they almost probably financially can only handle 7 episodes.
maybe. Maybe. And then they have to like, okay, see what the streaming numbers are so we can greenlight you another season. But
Yeah.
that's the tough part. I feel like with some of these like kind of old school television where like you would know pretty much ahead of time whether or not you're getting another season. So you can start like it's crazy. And also the budget was much, much lower then too. But you have the like a show would be on the air and then you would, film these shows at a certain point, you edit, you release them, then you get renewed in the spring, you start filming in the summer, and then you pump them out in the fall. And that was the metric that went on for years. But with more money and poured into these shows, they want to make sure that they're getting the right numbers. The streamers want to make sure they're getting the right numbers for you to greenlight another season. So the creators are now, whenever they're done with the show, are kind of on a pause and waiting for the people with the money to make a decision on whether or not they get a third season or not. And so if they can spend as long as they want, before they get that announcement. So, like, we found out that season 3 was happening before the start of season 2.
Mm.
But we also knew that season 2 was gonna be half the story. So, we would have damn hoped they would have got a 3rd season. So, hopefully they knew ahead of time and they were able to maybe shoot a few things while shooting season 2. Maybe they filmed this, like, simultaneously, and we'll get season 3 sooner than rather than later, but, yeah, it's season 2 didn't hit as hard as I wanted to, but there were still a lot of great moments in there that I believe that if you're a fan, you would enjoy.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you're kind of coming back for season 3. Eventually, I'll get over to watching this. Just it didn't seem
Yeah,
like, especially with like, I mean, it was getting bashed week to week in the
it
reviews,
was.
like really bad. Like it's getting like I mean, I've seen like some posts say like season 2 is like one of the worst seasons of television. But you seem
Oh,
to you,
that's over exaggerating.
yeah,
That's
that
not true at all.
yeah. I think that's people just rage baiting. That's what it sounds like. Like maybe there are some valid criticisms, but maybe it's not as bad as it's being made out to be.
There are far more worse shows you can watch on television right now. This is a well-made show. I think a lot of people, again, they have something to compare this to,
Yeah,
and they
that's the
they
problem.
they hold on to certain things that was happening in the games, and any changes or any directions that didn't align with them, they are just instantly gonna rage on it. And for me, going in there kind of blind, I don't, they again, I expressed my issues with it, but I had nothing really to be that passionate about that I thought this was a hated show. This was a well-made show, just some interesting choices made along the way.
Okay. Well, eventually, when I get
So,
to it, I shall let you know.
it's interesting that you like, this isn't a priority watch for you.
Yeah, we just haven't. It's something that we all watch together, so it's
Mhm.
more coordination than I love my family, unfortunately. So it does that supersedes how much I actually how much all that supersedes how much I want to watch it. I really want to
There you
watch.
go.
I really so the reality is that I really want to watch it. Is that I just have not had the availability to coordinate to watch it because you know how it is. If you watch a show that you're supposed to watch with somebody, that's like very blasphemous. It's like how dare you?
Yep.
That's like oh sacrilegious almost.
Yeah, and then it goes into the ever, long list of things you should watch, and then hopefully it stays in the top for a little bit longer because once 2 months goes by,
Starts
like,
getting dust.
you
That's
you
it.
you start forgetting about it. Yeah, it just goes down and, like, whatever new show that comes out at that time, you're like, "Oh, I'll watch this instead." We have a problem where there's too much content out there that if you weren't watching it when it was released, like, the season finale is already over. People are done talking about this. Like, whatever. Like, even the movie standpoint, like, we're 2 weeks removed from Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible. It was great for the week, but now we're moving on to something else.
Yeah,
Like now the week is How to Train Your Dragon. Like what's a Lilo and Stitch? That was 3 weeks ago. Who
yeah,
cares about that?
true, very
Um,
true.
and so the same for the last, like some of these TV shows, especially with TV shows. There's such a flux of TV shows that are happening and all these different streaming services that if you weren't watching within the first 2 months, it feels like that. All right, that moment's gone. I guess I'll just focus on the next new thing. Why go back? So yeah, it's I get it. But again, Last of Us season two, not better than season one. It was still good TV, but it doesn't hit as hard.
Mm. All right.
But there you go. That's all we've been watching. So now we're going to be diving into our spoiler review of the week and continuing our summer blockbuster season. We're going to be talking about Karate Kid Legends, giving us a new Karate Kid with Ben Wang and bringing up some old mentors or the legends in the title suggest with Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. So, Ernesto, your thoughts on Karate Kid Legends?
So let me just prefaces that so before I even went to go see this movie, Kirk, who's been on the show, and Julian, my son, who's also been on the show, both came to me and were like, "This movie's awful. It's terrible. It's so bad. The acting is awful. Like it, they were. I mean, they were like really hating on the movie." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I'm already walking into the movie with this preconception that it's not good. So I'm like, all right. And then I sit down and you know what? I actually had a good time. I just enjoyed it for what it was. But I think it was like we were kind of talking about it before the show and was saying like, I understand. I think I understand the franchise, especially since I watched Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is very like cheesy karate action, and it's very like very nostalgic. And I feel like this movie is the new age version of that because like Cobra Kai, kids would fight each other, they're falling down, like nobody's got a scratch on them. Just like in this, like people beat the shit out of each other, they just get up like it's nothing, like not a scratch, not a bruise. I mean, he got that one black eye in the movie, but like you know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know. I enjoyed it. I'm always a sucker for like heartwarming underdog stories, and it had that Karate Kid vibe that just kind of it just worked well. It just worked well for me. I thought the narrative was kind of like surface level. There were some. I think what lost it for me was that there's like maybe some of the editing was like I felt like some of the takes were too long. Right? I feel like some of the takes were a little bit too long, and like there were some cheesy moments and the editing fell off. So to me, those little moments kind of pulled me out. Like I was like, oh, that was kind of off. That was kind of weird. But then I felt like the narrative was there for me enough. We could have flushed out the story with his brother a little bit better. I felt like if we had gotten that as a setup in the beginning, then we would have understood like the relationship with his mom better. Her arc would have hit a little bit harder when she like eventually accepted him at the end when he went to go to this tournament. Um, did I want more Ralph Macchio in there? He probably could have been there a little bit more. They could have set him up to come in a little bit longer, but they worked in this other narrative where Lee Fong, played by Ben Wang, where he becomes like the Mr. Miyagi to Joshua Jackson, the dad, and like training him how to box. And I don't know, like I love a good training montage. In the 1-inch punch, like I don't know, the pizza dough, it was cheesy. I mean, come on, they're playing off the tropes from the original Karate Kid, and it's just kind of like it just felt like an updated version of the same film, which I felt like I was when I sat down. I said, I know what I'm watching. Like I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. Something I actually really enjoyed that final fight, the 5 Boros tournament. I thought it was intriguing. Like I literally was on the edge of my seat watching this fight play by play, and I was here for it. There was some speculation on. Some people were telling me, and I was reading online, like if Jackie Chan was really doing his stunts. Yeah, guess what? That man's over 70 years old. Is he 70? How old is Jackie Chan?
He was born in 54, so
71.
He'd be 71.
He's 71, still performing all his own stunts. I mean, that's just how he rolls. I mean, I thought that was incredibly impressive. All that shit they did in that apartment, I thought was incredibly impressive. Also, Ben Wang did most of his own stunts. Like that is
Mhm.
impressive. I think that is. I mean, I don't know. He want another one. He just wanted emphasis on like doing the stunts himself, learning, like being fluent in Mandarin. I don't know, man. Overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it's a cheesy underdog story. It's like pop. It's just a feel good movie. You just popcorn it in. It was solid. What was it? It was a solid 90 minutes. Like it was. You're
It
in
was
and
a
out.
quick 90.
But I think that also helped for me. Like if it had been any longer, I think I would be more critical. Because once you start
Yeah.
hitting that longer range, it's like, all right, well now you're telling me you're doing different type of storytelling. If I get a 90-minute movie, that means I expect it to be a quick, tight narrative. I'm gonna be in and out. And that's what I got. That's exactly what I got.
Yeah, I you definitely you're definitely favoring this movie more than I am.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, but that being said, like, I don't hate this movie. I don't think it was the worst movie I've ever seen. I don't necessarily think it's bad. It it's just, yeah, this is a Karate Kid story. It's interesting that you said this was a modern take on the Karate Kid story. I would disagree. I would say that the one with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, that was a modern take on the classic Karate Kid story. This movie felt different, but not in a good way, in my opinion. Like this I will commend them from doing different things. Like I was actually quite surprised when Lee Fong was actually being a mentor to an older boxer.
Hmm.
And like you got to stay agile and like so like in the Karate Kid films, it was not even a person that was interested in karate, if I'm not mistaken, but more just trying to defend themselves.
Hmm.
And or maybe there was interest in karate. I'm not entirely sure, but it's been a seen but there was a sense of like there was a different vibe going into them, and definitely there was a mentor and a mentee, and like you can see that Jaden Smith and Ralph Macchio at the time they were definitely amateurs and then rising up to be these great fighters within the movie. In
Yeah.
this case, what I respected what this movie was doing was that our main lead in Lee Fong was already an experienced fighter.
Hmm.
So we kind of got that out of the way. Like he was already the Karate Kid, like literally.
I guess that's true. That's
But
true.
then there were elements in the movie that preventing him to want to fight because of what happened to his brother. And then we also established earlier on that Jackie Chan was actually his mentor. So he's already going through the training classes and everything in that situation. So there's that aspect of it. And then I thought it was a both silly and interesting move for have our Karate Kid be the mentor to an older person who was boxing to try to save his pizza shop because he owed money to these gangsters who owned a rival karate shop. It when I say that out loud, it feels so stupid. Uh I wouldn't say it even worked for the movie, but that's what the movie decided to do. Like, none of that made any sense of why this would be connecting. All because what? He moved to New York City and he likes this girl who works at the pizza shop. Then he started getting into it and then felt connected with the family that was in the pizza shop, entitled to then help the father who feels like he needs the box in order to get the money so he can save his own pizza shop. Like, yeah, I thought the montage was fun, but and it took 30 minutes out of the movie that led to nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah, he fought. He would have won had the other guy not been uh like hit him with the illegal elbow and literally knocked him out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yes, but what I'm saying is like in the overall arc of this movie, you take that out and you he was still fighting in the 5 boroughs. Just like, I don't think it served much of any reason to have that part in there. I wish it was better integrated within the story because I like that he was a mentor to an older person. I just don't think story-wise it gave us any reason. It
Well,
didn't give us any purpose because then all that ended up doing was when, with the after the boxing match was over, the pizza guy owner was sent to the hospital, and then for whatever reason that was a calling card for Jackie Chan to show up, and was like, "You need me, and but also you need to fight for what to help them out or for you or for both." Like it just really didn't connect the dots at all of the reasons why he was fighting in the five boroughs.
Well, because he wanted to give him the money so he can pay off his debt and like so they can help him.
Yeah, a very selfless act, I guess. But also in the same process of like you have to go back and fight because you have to overcome your feelings toward what happened to your brother. But your mother doesn't want you to fight because of what happened to your brother. But you both need to overcome it because you're a good fighter and what makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just feel like that that particular storyline didn't fit with the rest of the movie.
Mm.
In my opinion.
I think it would have worked better if they had flushed out, like given, like yeah, that he got to reopen his pizza shop, but I felt like we should have gotten more resolution from the guy who elbowed him and beat the shit out of him, and like, oh, he just opened a pizza shop and those guys are free to do whatever they want. Like we didn't get any resolution of like payback on those guys. Well, I guess the Five Boroughs tournament is kind of that, but not really because I mean
Yeah, it had nothing to do with it.
well, because he's from the gym that those guys are from. The other guy, the
Yeah,
kid who
no, I
Lee
get
Fong.
it, but, like, then now you have kids fighting your battles for you, but, like, the gym owner was very, very minimal to the story. He was just like, "You gotta take this guy out," and that was about it because that guy owes me money, so you have to fight the kid that's trying to win the money so he doesn't get the money that he owes me,
Well,
and it's just
remember
like,
that kid was
okay.
already going to fight in the tournament. They set that up in the beginning. He was going to go to the tournament regardless. That kid was already
Right.
going, but then Lee Fong came later so that he could pay the money to Joshua Jackson, or what was his name
Yeah,
in the movie?
uh, I don't even know. We just keep calling the pizza guy.
The pizza guy, Victor.
Pizza guy.
Hey, he's making pizzas.
He's making pizzas. Where is he in the Victor
Victor.
Lapini? Like Victor Lapini. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, yeah, and to me, none of that landed. Like I that part of the story could have been out, and I think we would have played out just fine. But at the same time, I liked it because it was different from, what other Karate Kid movies have given us. So I'm like a double-edged sword here on how I feel about that particular sequence because it took about a good third of the movie. Like,
Mm.
the first third was him getting here and getting acclimated and meeting the girl. The second half, the 2 thirds of it no, part 1 was that, part 2 was him training the victor, and then part 3 was then like, "Okay, I have to now fight." And then Jackie Chan shows up, and then Ralph Macchio coming in at the last 30 minutes of the movie, it felt just so random.
Yeah.
Like, Jackie Chan makes sense, and then well, they first start off with the movie with, uh, I don't know if it was de-aging or I don't know how they got unless there was a scene that was played out in an earlier movie, but they had Mr. Miyagi and a younger Rapaccio at Danielson, like, uh, talking about, like, these branches and how these different, mentors are meant to be together or they kind of work together, and so that was a very loose tie-in to be like Jackie Chan's way of doing things and Mr. Miyagi way of doing things through the lens of Daniel, and so, like, okay, sure. That was the reason why they came together, and you're telling me that Jackie Chan went flew to New York, then flew all the way to LA to tell Ralph Macchio that, "Hey, you should help this random kid because I knew, uh, uh,
Mr.
Mr.
Miyagi.
Miyagi," and then he willingly just flies to New York to help out this kid, which I felt like he was fine without the both of them. He didn't need them at all.
He didn't, but it was a way. It was a way to integrate the entire franchise. This is what ties the 2010 movie and all the Karate Kids and Cobra Kai. Like this movie literally ties the entire franchise together. So it did feel like a little bit of that. I don't know. I was fine with that. I mean, he felt uh, he felt duty to Mr. Miyagi. So if he's already in the US, he feels necessary to make the trip out to Los Angeles to see his dojo and to honor him and also to use that as because he know he wanted him to learn karate. Oh, and it's only going to take him a week to learn karate. But I
I
guess
guess
that makes
so.
but I guess that makes sense of why he was already like a kung fu master in the beginning of the movie. So he already had a basic foundation of how to perform. So we don't need to do we got to teach you how to be a fighter. Like you're already a fighter. Like you already know how to fight.
Right.
We just need to unlock this thing inside of you.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I will say it's a weird complaint, but I do have a huge issue of him going to New York and LA to go back to New York. Like, if that's the case, just make this movie taking place in LA. It like New York served a very there was a yes, the city of New York had a place in this film.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I feel like you could have had a similar story take place in the city of LA.
Yeah,
Like,
but I think if it was a way for the movie to stand on its own, because then if you're in LA, then the whole movie you're thinking, oh, where's Cobra Kai? Like, where are we gonna get all the Cobra Kai cameos? Like, maybe what they should have had done is Ralph Macchio should have went to New York on like a work trip or like find he like in the show he's like a businessman. So like
mhm.
there's a way they could have written for him to be in New York and to run into Jackie Chan or them meet up. But then you don't get Jackie Chan going into Miyagi-Do and having that moment where they
Yeah.
reflect on Mr. Miyagi. Now they could have had that in New York, but it would have I guess it could have been it would have been fine if they did it in New York. If they had all taken place in New York and like maybe some flashbacks or I don't know. That could have been construct. Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's a weird thing, or maybe it was a way to just showcase the Miyagi Do, like to have it like be in the middle, to have it like literally be in the movie. Besides at the
Yeah,
post
and
credit scene at the end.
I do agree with you that if they wanted to stand out from the show, to not have it take place in LA. But I think also part of that is, like, why wasn't this movie the ending of Cobra Kai? Like
Mm,
you've al and also just the existence of this movie to begin with. Like, I understand wanting to bring these franchises, like, these different story elements together, but you already reignited this franchise through the series. One, why are you giving us something completely different from what the shows were already, kind of moving on with its success? Why to me, it's just you're just trying to capitalize on the fact that The Karate Kid was popular and somebody else wanted to make money off of it, and then you were able to shoehorn this story together, which I feel like didn't land as well. Rather than you kind of factoring and hitting on nostalgia for Cobra Kai and having that kind of rise and have that show be a success. Like, I think Cobra Kai could have existed. This movie doesn't have to be like it's the same argument of why are we having a Harry Potter series. We already have
mm,
something that already exists doing so well. Why are we giving the audience another version of something that is still active right now? The show literally just ended.
mm,
Like, why are we spending not even a few months later to give us this show, like, or this movie? The same for Moana and, like, a live action Moana. You just came out with Moana 2. Why are you giving us a live action version of this? It makes 0 sense. Just keep doing what you're doing, or in this case, let the show die, let it breathe a little bit.
mm.
Like, wait a few years before you give us something else, Karate Kid.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I've never watched the show, but I know that a lot of people really enjoyed it.
I do.
So for me,
Yeah.
why damper that by putting out this movie?
Yeah, I mean it's a way to kind of because you're still riding the wave, and then like oh Cobra Kai's over. Oh, but now the movie's coming out. So people who maybe are haven't seen the show, maybe they'll go see the show, and if you've seen the
Mhm.
show, that you're going to be more inclined to go see the movie, especially if the show is still fresh in your mind from a couple months. So I,
Yeah.
I I get it from that aspect, and I think I read online that like in the universe, this story takes place like a couple years after Cobra Kai. So like
Oh,
Cobra Kai,
wow.
the
Okay.
events of Cobra Kai have already been and gone.
Yeah, I think for me, like, even for a person who haven't watched the show, I would have much rather knowing that there was a movie kind of capitalizing on the events of the show rather than giving us something completely different. And it feels kind of shoehorned in and kind of loosely put together. Like I think at the end of the day, I don't feel like this story gave me much of anything, and you're kind of just capitalizing on the fact that like, okay, here's your 80s Karate Kid and your early 2000s Karate Kid, and now here's a 2025 Karate Kid. And like the the inclusion, specifically Ralph Macchio, served no reason to be there, and I feel like only served for people who watch the show rather than for the people who've watched the movies.
Mm.
And, like, it's weird that I feel like this like, you bringing in Jackie Chan or Ralph Macchio will bring in for the nostalgia factor, but this show was written for kids.
Oh yeah, the movie. You mean the movie?
Yeah, sorry, the movie was written for kids, but you're trying to grab in, like, adults, like, "Oh, look, we got Ralph Macchio, we got Jackie Chan," like, you know these people, and like, "Yeah, no, I really wanna watch this," but this movie was written for kids.
I mean, it
But
was
it was trying to
clearly
suck you
written.
in with the adults.
I mean, you could even tell, like, just by the way, like, I don't know, just by the way that it's shot, like, it was
Yeah.
clearly a kids movie, which whatever. I mean, I guess I was more okay with it than you are, but that's fine. Different strokes for different folks. These type of movies will always get me more. Like,
Yeah.
I'm always gonna be more forgiving of these movies than I am critical, and I guess that's just me.
Yeah, and I guess to your point, I have a soft spot for sports dramas. For the similar vibe, there's always an underdog element to it.
Hmm.
But I think also in that fact, I never felt that Li Fong was an underdog. I
Uh,
never felt like he needed like the training, his training montage uh felt less of like, oh, is he going to like it felt less fulfilling to me because I never felt he was an amateur.
well, it's
Like I
not
felt like
that.
he had a dog in the fight from the beginning.
Yeah, yes and no, because I mean we had that initial fight with him and that guy and the antagonist in the beginning of the film where he like
Yeah.
just wrecks him. Like he literally says, "I'm gonna fight you with no hands," and then he kicks and he just beats his ass. And then he does that dragon kick, and the guy just like he does this massive setup, comes down, and then he just nails him. And obviously, we see
Yeah.
that come back at the end, and that's how they use that as like like it was a thing to take him out, like almost like a MacGuffin, almost like this is the
Yeah.
thing that's gonna make us win, and that's obviously what happened. But
Yeah, I feel like it was so on the nose though. Like we really spent a lot of time him practicing that move.
yeah,
I was almost expecting for it to like go wrong and then him have to pivot because we spent so much time on that move. But then it worked and then he won. And it's just like,
kids movie.
all right, well,
That
yeah,
moment alone,
exactly.
is like this is a kids movie. But if this
His
movie
movie,
had been a little
exactly.
bit more complex, then they would have had him adjust a little bit, or maybe it would have
Yeah.
gone to another tie, or maybe it was a no point. Like what would have been really cool is if it was a slight miss and there was a no point and he had to redo it because now that's gone. Now the element of surprise is gone. Now he knows to
Hmm.
expect it. So now you're gonna have to do something else. That would actually
Yeah.
that would have been a really good twist on the end. That would have made it a little bit more exciting in the end.
Yeah. And then you made a good point earlier about like the connection with his mother. I felt like that she was barely in it.
Yeah,
She was just basically a force to be like, I don't want you to do karate.
yeah.
Then Li Fong, my mom does not want me to do karate. And then eventually Jackie Chan was like, your son needs to fight. He's like, yeah, I know.
See,
And
kid
then
movie.
oh, yeah, exactly, kids movie. And then and then the mom goes in there at toward the end, is like, Mom, I have to fight. It's like, you've been fighting this whole time. Like what
You
your
kn-
mother says at this point, I'm sorry, is irrelevant because you're already in the finals. So like, are you worried that your mom's gonna find out? Jackie Chan has been in your house for months. What are you talking about? Like, oh no, mom's not gonna approve. I clearly you don't care because
Have you ever?
yeah, have you ever cared?
But
Like, it's like whatever your mom says in that moment, like, I don't think it matters. Like, it's like you're looking for a stamp of approval, doesn't feel like it.
but
So
he wanted it because it unlocked him to be a better fighter. It made him the best fighter, Matt, because
sure,
he felt strength within himself that he had his mother's approval.
whatever. Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's a campy ass like underdog karate movie.
Yes.
I'm always gonna be a sucker for these type of movies. So but I see the criticism. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
I'm one of the things that pulled me out was like, oh, that editing was kind of weird. Like some of the takes were kind of long, some of the cuts were
Yeah.
kind of strange, and it was
Some of the
cheesy.
dialogue even was a little too cheesy.
Yeah,
Like, there were, like, some back and forth, like, that didn't land right." Like, I feel like the only person, in my opinion, that landed, like, acting-wise, was our lead, Ben Yang. Like, he nailed it as our Karate Kid.
he
Like, I
was.
thought he was very charismatic. I thought he had the moves, everything. I feel like Ralph Macchio was even off. Like, I never felt like he was like, he pulled me out of the movie. Jackie Chan's lines pulled me out of the movie. Like, some of the story beats pull him out of the movie. The editing, to your point, like, the graphics that were happening during the
Yeah,
montage of him going to the tournament, that felt off to me. The graphics when they were, like, the days that he was training, it was like 10 days, like 8, 9, 10, or like, sorry, backwards. So like it would be like 10 days to go, 9, 8, 7, 6. It's like, okay, so all right. And then it was like 3, 2, 1. It was like, oh, damn, all right. We're not even slowing down on these montage. So like a lot of odd things that went into the decisions of the creative process in this movie.
I do agree with you. Ben Wang was probably one of the best things about this movie, which just gets me even more excited for when he's going to be in Sunrise on the Reaping in the next Hunger Games movie
Mhm.
next year, because he was absolutely fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, this actually makes me want to go watch American Born Chinese that was on Disney Plus, a show that I missed that came out I think 1 or 2 years ago. And I was really interested in the show, and he was the lead among like other people that were kind of featured in the show. And I heard the show was really good, but it got canceled after one season.
Mm.
And so now that seeing him in this movie, I was like, I kind of want to go back and watch it because it might be a better content than what I believe this was. But yeah, I thought they nailed it with like picking the Karate Kid, and I think they made some interesting choices of how they decided to even define Karate Kid. Because technically, to your point, he was learning karate for the first time, but he already knew kung fu.
Hmm.
So like we got a different element of it of the reason why we wanted to bring these stories together. I think the story was just stitched together very poorly, but overall, though, there was nothing like, yeah, you follow the beats of a Karate Kid movie. So like, I didn't hate it, but it was just off a little bit.
Yeah, I get it. There's valid criticisms, but sometimes there's certain things that you can just turn your brain off and just accept it for what it's worth. And I was able to do that. I can't do that for a lot of movies, but I was able to do it for this one.
For this. Do you think it like? I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, but because you have seen the show, did you end up finishing the season?
Not yet. That's gonna be
Okay.
next. I'm gonna finish it now. At least I'm glad I didn't because it had no relevance to the film.
Yeah, it had zero relevance to it. But do you think like hearing my experience coming out of this movie, do you feel like I should finally start Cobra Kai, and this could maybe reverse some of the feelings I had for like the brand of Karate Kid.
I think that if well number okay, let me break that down. So Cobra Kai, I mean, you can enjoy completely separate from this. It's like what I kind of like
Hmm.
is that it's its own thing. Like it's completely like it is separated from the movies are very much catered to a younger audience, and Cobra Kai is not. It's that same like cheesy action, but in like a series form. I think you should watch Cobra Kai. I think it's great, just fun, like karate entertainment. Like it's just a fun ride. The whole show's just like it's just crazy. I enjoy it. I'm
Is
excited to go back
is
and
the
finish it.
show tailored to kids?
No, not at all.
Or okay, all right, then I think I can be okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no. It's very much an adult take. I mean, like the main lead, he curses and like they talk all kind of shit, and there is some aspects of like that, and not entirely, but like some like CW relationship type stuff where they're like, oh, I
Sure.
want you to
Yeah.
be with me, but it's like that's like high school stuff. There's some high school drama that's intermixed in there, but otherwise, set pieces, action sequences are really really well done.
Okay. Um, Now looking to see how the world thinks about this movie, I'm actually quite shocked. This movie on this is going from Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 58% critic score, which probably lands around where I'm at.
Yeah.
But the audience score is a 92.
I told you I had a good time. You could
I think
I
that
was
is
able to
way too high.
I think it's a little high, but I do think that it is a fun summer underdog story. It's a fun movie to have in the summer, and it's just like you can just turn your brain off and have a good time watching the movie. Like you don't, you know what I mean? Like we can. There's a lot of things that you can nitpick, but I think that there's enough there to be enjoyed. It's probably for me somewhere in the 70-80 range, probably closer to 70.
Okay. I think I would land more where the critics land. I think they said like 58. I can get you to a 60.
Hmm.
Like I don't think it was bad because it still had some really good beats in this movie. It was just surrounded by a lot of like, what? What are you doing? Like it's just so odd. Um, let's quickly talk about the box office. This movie opened to number 3. So not the crowd pleaser of like people rushing to go see this movie in the theater. Um, Also coming off of the next week from Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible, this movie didn't have a fighting chance.
No, there's no way.
So, but this movie opened to number 3 at about $20.3 million. I believe some of the numbers were closer to 21 million. But at the time of this recording, um, the movie domestically made $37.5 million. Internationally, it made $38.6 million for a worldwide gross of $77 million on a $45 million budget. So it wasn't that much to make this movie. It was a pretty good, healthy like number. It's pretty low considering like movie making. Like big Hollywood movies are hundreds of millions of dollars. This one was stuck pretty low to about the $45 range. And currently it would, it needs to like typically about two and a half its budget. It's sitting at about $77 million. So not quite even doubling what it's worth or its budget, but I think this is about average of what I would expect this movie to make. I mean, hell, even within now this movie came out 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, it could hit 100 million or just shy of that depending on how it's going. Between domestically and internationally, it seems about maybe the same. So enough interest was in creating this movie. And it didn't flop, I'll say that. Um, but yeah, it's hard to. I wonder if this movie would have done a little bit better if it opened at a different time frame because you're coming off of the high of people watching Lilo and Stitch and for one audience, and then a different audience going into Mission Impossible. So I don't know if the people who were nostalgic for Karate Kid really wanted to go and watch this in the theater, but with other things that were happening in other bigger movies that were coming out. So I wonder if this would have came out in say August time, if it would have landed a little bit better, depending on what other movies that were coming out.
I think that if it had come out in the end of the summer, it would have done a lot better. That's a good point.
Hmm.
I think if we had ended the summer with this, it would have hit real hard. Like after Fantastic Four, after Jurassic World, give all those big blockbusters, or this should have came out like before Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible, either right before summer
Yeah.
or right at the end of summer is where they should have landed. Not smack dab in the middle, not like right after Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, to your point though, because even the start of the summer, we got Thunderbolts, which is like beginning of May, but April was pretty dry. Like there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of big movies in April. This would have fit right really nicely in a springtime
Yep.
opening.
Yep. Like
Uh
right around Easter.
like you have a couple, yeah, Easter time, yeah, that would have been a sweet spot. I think it would have made a lot more money if they would have landed on that. But I don't know. I think they were very much capitalizing on the success of Cobra Kai with this.
Mm,
And I feel like it got, the people who are interested in it. I
yeah.
don't think I'm not sure if they were expecting big bucks, but the people who wanted to see it, I think that number reflects on the amount of people who are still kind of attached to this franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, even
Uh,
considering the where it came out, like with all these big blockbusters, I mean, it made a good amount of money
mhm.
considering everything else that's out. So it still managed to have a dog in the fight. Like it, it's still cracked top 5.
True, very true. I mean, I think, yeah, open to number 3, and then I think it kinda just fell off after that,
Hmm.
because then the week after was Ballerina, and that even opened to number 2.
Yeah.
So, like, no one's knocking down Lilo and Stitch until, I guess, probably most likely this weekend with How to Train Your Dragon, so
Yeah.
that's
Oh
probably
yeah.
gonna knock it down.
Oh, 100%. I'd be
Um
very surprised if
Oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't.
It has to.
Yeah.
No way it doesn't. I'll be very shocked if it doesn't. Like, our Lilo and Stitch in its 3rd week was already, like, only making, like, 30,000,000, so, like, How to Train Your Dragon is definitely making more than $30,000,000
Yeah.
over the weekend. But with all that, Ernesto, final thoughts on Karate Kid Legends and your 5-star rating.
All right. So I actually, I guess I enjoyed the movie more than others, which is fine.
Mhm.
There's different movies for for different people. I think that the mom's storyline could have been fleshed out a little bit better, and maybe if we had gotten that set up in the beginning, that like maybe if instead of us getting that scene of his brother dying in the middle of the movie, if we had opened the movie with that and then like kind of use that as part of the setup, I think it maybe those emotional beats with the mom would have hit harder. Because then, like when she shows up at the school and she acts the way that she acts, you would have understood a little bit better. Because you already
Mm.
had the context of her at the hospital when her son just kind of like hid. And actually, when he was hiding while they were talking, that would have made more sense to his
Yeah.
character. Because like he's hidden, he doesn't follow through all the way. So like those things would have made more sense going like already as a setup going into the movie. And this is
Mhm.
like a mild critique. I think that when we had this whole montage of him trying to go underneath the subway thing, and we had that security guard who was like, "Are you done yet?" I think when he finally did it, we should have went back to her with like some sort of I think it would have been good to have like some sort of reaction, like if she had seen him finally do it, or if he like lands right next to her, or she was like, or he finally got it, and he's like, "Well, you forgot to swipe your card this time." I don't know,
Yeah.
something dumb or something funny. Like I wanted a little bit more from that scene because I thought the way he was training and they were playing off of her, I thought it was pretty. It was good. It was good. It was. I thought for me that was good comedy.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think some of the
Oh,
comedic points
my
were
stars probably 3. I'll give it a 3.
a 3? Okay. I landed originally, I mean, I kinda still do, at a 2.5,
Mm,
but I can meet you at a 3 for, I guess, the mild nostalgic factors that brought into
okay.
some of this, because in some cases, like, when I was a kid, the Karate Kid when I was a kid was Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. Like,
Mm,
I remember that movie fondly when I was watching it as a kid. I also really enjoyed The Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't grow up with those movies. I remember watching, Jackie Chan's version rather than Mr. Miyagi, but I still enjoy all the same. Like, they were still good movies
Yeah.
regardless. A lot of people didn't like the Jackie Chan version, but I had no problems with it.
I
I thought for me,
another
I thought it was really good.
Another movie I also really enjoyed, but
Yeah.
I'm also a
But I
sucker for
feel like
these type of movies.
that movie, though, I feel like felt like a movie. Like, I didn't feel like it was being written for children. Like,
Oh, it's better. It's
neither did
definitely better than this one. I definitely
yeah.
rank that one over this one.
Yeah, this is definitely by far the weakest Karate Kid movie in the franchise.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I think, what sells me on this movie was our lead, Ben Yang, Li Fong. Like, he like wanted to he was a leading force that made me care about what was happening in this film. I thought he did a really good job of like his kung fu skills, his fighting skills, how he cared for others. Like, it made it very believable, and I'm very intrigued to see him as an actor and kind of grow in other roles that he decides to pick. Like, you sold me on that. I do think that having like Jackie Chan and even Ralph Macchio, specifically Ralph Macchio in the poster is a little misleading because you think he's and then even the marketing in this movie makes it seem like these 2 are your mentors teaching this kid, and that's what I thought we were going into this movie, having 2 mentors that has been featured in other films, now teaching this one kid how to do karate. but that is not the movie we got at all. Like, that was, like, the back half of this movie, which I feel like it should have been the whole movie. Instead, they gave us something a little bit different, which I have mixed feelings about. One aspect of it is that I like that it was different because it was something I wasn't expecting, but in the second half of that, I feel like it served not much to the story, and we ended up going back to what I thought this movie was always supposed to be in the last act. So, but I did thought that the last the fi like, the 5 boroughs fight was really good. Like, it definitely brought mild stakes to what the story was trying to do at the end of the day. Um, but I mean, you made it you said it yourself, there was odd pacing, cheesy dialogue, it just these weird choices that they had within this movie, like choppy editing that
Mhm.
just didn't really land. There was a lot of moments that took me out of the movie, and I wish it hadn't, but it did. And for me, I'll have it sit at a 2.5. But for the sake of our box office bingers rating, we'll give it a
Thank you, Matthew.
3. So there you go. That is our spoiler review of Karate Kid Legends, and that is all the show we have for you guys this week. As always, you can follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Box Office Bingers, our X and Letterboxd page at Box Office Binger, and our Threads and Instagram page at Box Office _ Bingers. The fun doesn't stop here; it continues on all of our social media channels. So be sure to give each one of those a follow. You can see all of our latest reels and videos on our YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram page, our entertainment news that we'll be covering next week. At least more of a heavier entertainment news next week on our Facebook threads and Instagram pages. And you can see a lot of our movie reviews on our letterbox page. And before you give one of those a follow, you're not going to regret it because well, it's a fun time.
Yeah, we have fun.
Ernesto, yeah, we have fun. We also tell you what's new to streaming every Friday and give you the box office numbers every Sunday. Ernesto, tell all of the listeners what they can look forward to next week.
Oh, next week we are hitting up our boy Mike Flanagan, and we are watching The Secret Life of Chuck, his new film. I'm very excited. Like, we are. There was a promo they were showing on TV. We were showing at the station today, and I was like, "Y'all, you gotta go see this movie." This, like, Mike Flanagan. I'll be very, very surprised if this movie is bad. Is what I'll say. Like, I'll be sitting. That'll be the first thing I say. That if this movie's bad, I'll be very surprised. I am curious because it is a different vibe. It's not like necessarily like a thriller, from what I understand. Like, it's more of like a drama. Um,
Yeah, it's being touted on IMDb as a drama fantasy sci-fi.
yeah,
So, like, it is no horror, no action, no mystery, no thriller, which is type of the genres that Mike Flanagan is known for. And it's actually called The Life of Chuck. There's no secret in there.
Oh, sorry. The
Um,
secret is that there is no
and
secret.
there's no secret that there is no secret in the title of Life of Chuck.
Yeah.
Uh, but to me, that's what intrigues me the most. Of like, we know Mike Flanagan as this horror filmmaker, so now he's giving us something completely different. And if he lands with this, like he's just in my eyes, if this movie lands, this is just like he's just a master storyteller. It doesn't matter what genre he does, and so like,
and
we've praised his work on Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor, and especially The Fall of the House of the Usher. So I'm really intrigued to see what he can do as a director and a writer, something outside of horror.
And I think it will, because I think what intrigues me most about his projects is not the horror that he displays, is how he writes his characters. It's like
Uh,
100% his success is how he constructs his characters and how he directs them on scene. So, like,
mm.
I'm very hopeful that this is going to be a great film.
Yeah, I really am too. So, fingers crossed. We've been waiting for this movie for a while. We've heard that he was making this movie. It was starring Tom Hiddleston. And we're like, damn, he got Loki in his movie.
Hmm.
And I feel like he's been done with this movie for a while, and it's now finally coming to theaters. So
Hmm.
you can definitely be sure to hear our thoughts on Life of Chuck next week. And if you're lucky, if we have more time, we might be diving into some other movies. Don't want to make any promises, but the goal is that we might some have maybe a double feature. Maybe a double feature. We don't
Maybe,
know.
maybe a double.
I don't,
We'll see.
maybe it might be a double. You know what they say? Box office bingers, make it a double.
Make it a double.
Make it a double. But yeah, you can always have double the fun here on our social. Nope, I already said that already.
already did that.
I tried to.
I really appreciate what you tried to do there too. Like you damn, you had a really smooth segue. I almost want to let you do it, but the moment has passed. But I want to tell you that I was like, oh, that was nice. Oh, but we already did that. With that moment,
We did that already,
Matthew. That moment has actually passed. The secret is that you already told them where to follow us.
All on that note, we'd like to thank each and every one for listening to us just talk about movies. We really do appreciate it. Come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it. Look how much fun we're having. I hope you're having the same amount of fun as you do. Yeah, come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it. For that, I've been your host, Matt Diaz.
Oh, I've been Ernesto Santos. See ya.